Change the battery.
All right, we'll call to order the City of Desert Hot Springs amended agenda for the regular meeting of the City Council, and the City Council serving as the successor agency to the former Redevelopment Agency Board for Tuesday, February 6, 2024. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Betts.
Present.
Councilmember Gardner. Present. Councilmember Nunez.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Pai.
Present.
And Mayor Menace.
Present. I don't see anybody in the audience for public comment. You received any public comments?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Madam City Attorney, would you
Thank you,
please
Mr.
announce?
Thank you,
closed
Mr.
session?
Mayor, members of council. We have 3 items on for closed session. The first one is conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, paragraph 1 is subdivision D of section 54956.9. The case is Desert Hot Springs versus Dynasty Entertainment, Riverside County Superior Court, case number CVPS 2104940. The second item is conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, initiation of litigation pursuant to paragraph 4, subdivision D of section 54956.9. There's one potential case. And the third is public employee complaints, Government Code section 54957.
Thank you very much. We will recess to closed session. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get started here. We're going to do one item first, which is the Desert Healthcare District Mobile Health Clinic presentation. So we're going to have that first, and then we've got a couple other presentations, but we'll do that second. So who's introducing this item? Noe, did you want to, or? I know, I didn't know if there was an introduction by staff first, or Carol, you just going to come up and go for it? No, press the button there.
Good evening, Council Mayor. So Alex is here from Desert Healthcare District. He's going to talk a little bit about the monthly events we've been hosting, not hosting, but we've been having at the hub. And he's really going to talk about, how we've been really working hard to provide comprehensive healthcare services in addition to a lieu of many other services that our on-house community really benefits from. So he's here with a lot of different strong partners in this event, and he's going to talk about this now.
And I'll let Alejandro talk because he's better a speaker than I am.
Good evening, Mayor and Council and staff. Thank you for the opportunity to come and showcase some of the great work that we've been doing here in partnership with the city, with the Access Hub. We started not too long ago. It started with a call that we had with the wonderful staff and the ladies at Word of Life Fellowship Ministry. We were both in a meeting talking about homelessness, and they said, hey, this is a great opportunity. Let's collaborate. And we had been participating with the City of Palm Springs RISE initiative. We would take the medical mobile unit down to the wash and provide services along with other supportive services that other organizations were providing, like food, DAP Health were providing, Narcan, and some other resources for the in-house to ensure that that they were safe and healthy. So for us, it was a great opportunity to deploy the medical mobile unit that we have to be able to provide medical services on site, and we've had really good results from it. So through those conversations, the meetings, I met these wonderful group of ladies and gentlemen from Word of Life Fellowship Church, and we said, hey, let's replicate this in Desert Hot Springs. We also have a large unhoused population that could benefit from these services. So we met, our first event was August of 2023, and we just started with the medical services, but then through the contacts that these wonderful ladies have, we were able to add on additional services. We were able to add on haircuts. We were able to add on food, clothing, showers, and also for us to really showcase the Access Hub that at that time was very near opening. So we wanted to introduce the Access Hub to the unhoused population so they know that they could go there, that this is a place where they could come and get benefits and get resources for them to hopefully secure housing or just assist them in any way that they might need. We started, like I said, in August of 2023, and now it has become a monthly thing. We're there the third Thursday of the month, providing these services from 8 in the morning to about 11 in the afternoon. And I think one of the key things that makes this program really successful is that we rent a van every month, where we have a wonderful volunteer from Sunline Transit Agency that's a bus driver, and he drives around town with the folks from Word of Life that have a built-in, they already have established relationship with some of these unhoused individuals, because they do their food program every Tuesday, so they have that connection. They tell the folks, so like, hey, come over here, jump on the van, we'll take you to the site, we'll wait for you, and then we'll drive you back wherever they're at. So, some of our community partners that we work with, DPMG Health is a medical mobile unit operator, and they have, medical residents and physicians that attend these monthly events. We also obviously partner with Martha's Village and Kitchen, the Bridge to Better through Word of Life Fellowship Church. Obviously, the City of Desert Hot Springs, Overflow 912, which is the portable showers, and then Jewish Family Services of San Diego provide referrals and other services to this unhoused population. And here are just some of the pictures I wanted to share with y'all there. We have the wonderful Sally there on the top right, and her husband that do the intake form of all of these folks. We want to ensure that we capture the needs of these individuals, and then we're able to either reach out to community partners to start bringing those resources or start addressing some of these needs. As you can see there, we also have the showers, we have the clothing that's available to them. Funny story, Mark Rogers, one day, there was a gentleman that wore a size 13 shoe, and we couldn't find any shoes there, so he took off the sandals off his own feet and gave them to that individual because, I guess Mark wears a size 13. So, so it was a perfect fit. So we try to do everything as possible to ensure these folks, feel welcome. They feel that there's a judgment-free zone, and we're there to help them. And I think, our numbers reflect, some of the great work that we've been doing collectively. And as I would like to, give a shout out to Councilwoman Pai and Councilmember Nunez, who have been there a couple of times to just kind of say hi and see what we have going on there. And thank you for your support. As well as the city staff. The city staff has been amazing. From Public Works that take the tables and chairs and the easy ups in order for us to have the tables and chairs to do all that we do. Noe has been a great contact of ours. Doria, everybody has just been so amazing. The Desert Healthcare District staff, obviously there's as well, with the support of our director, Carol Rogers, whose Desert Hot Springs is her zone within our district. So we're always, very thankful for her to come out. And she's also a retired nurse, so we also kind of tap into those talents. So, just wanted to share pictures. Great work that happens there. We're able to provide referrals to specialty care. We actually have driven individuals down to, the rescue mission, to Martha's. We have taken a couple of individuals to the hospital, and then we see them in a couple of months, and they're so much better. They're healthier. They're able to communicate a little bit better. So we have something really special going on there. And some of the services that we provide, like I mentioned, is the medical services, the transportation, the showers, including toiletries and towels for the individuals, haircuts, clothing, food, spiritual health, and then referral to additional services, including housing and specialty healthcare services. Some of the goals or some of the metrics that we have achieved, as you can see, we have a steady number of folks that come and visit this. This resource, roughly around 20 each month, but then there's also additional services that we're able to provide. And then we actually have connected 5 individuals with permanent housing through this program. So for us, it's a great accomplishment that we're able to bring all of the community partners, be able to receive the support from the City of Desert Hot Springs to ensure that the unhoused population has the services, and we have a healthy population. And then for those that are ready to move into permanent housing, we have those services available to them. So I want to pass the mic here to my wonderful counterpart, Lakeisha, to talk a little bit more about what they do.
Good evening. Thank you so much. I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you to the city. Doria, you're amazing. Your leadership has been wonderful. Jan, I can't say enough about her. She's our silent, loud person. You know, her look will make you get in line quick. So I'm just so grateful to her and her support. She's always so supportive of us. And Noe is just amazing. I get there early and he's like 2 seconds behind me. But it's so important that we join together and collaborate and have the heart of the people. So we are a voice speaking for those that can't come and speak. You know, some of the people with the showers, people have told us they had not taken showers in 2 years. That's like unthinkable, right? And to get a haircut, they hadn't had a haircut in years. So we're making a difference and providing clothes for what do you call it, a job. A lady was going to get an interview, and she was like, I found clothes for my interview. We're making a difference, and it starts here. It starts with this. I can't say enough about him. He goes above and beyond, and I'm just so grateful to be able to love our community, right? We're here, it was raining, and we served 144 people today, and they're just so happy to see us. And I have the video of the guy I could show you, but it's just amazing to be able to be in a community, in a city where the community cares. And the goal is to get the people off the street, right? Not to see the same people all the time. And so we are seeing changes. To see 5 individuals with permanent housing, that's like a major win. So we're working with all of the different cities, with Martha's and with Jewish Family Services. It's just been wonderful to work with them and just reach everyone that we can. You know, we have mental issues and they have mental issues. We do too sometimes. But there is a lot of mental health issues and drug problems we know, and we unfortunately we saw someone overdose on the street, but our goal is to just be there. So thank you for allowing us to be that voice. We appreciate it, and just let's keep growing and get the people out the street, get them in houses, and we're working on that. So thank you.
Well, first of all, we appreciate everything you guys are doing. Thank you to all the volunteers and the groups that are participating. The city council funded what we could at the time to just start something small, and it's turned into something big. And just seeing if 5 people were in houses today, how many more can we do in a year from now? So without you guys, we can't get this done. Thank you to the partnership with the healthcare district. Thank you to the partnership with all the organizations. Any specific questions for the organization? We can't start an agenda item tonight, but we can ask questions if we like. No? Thank you guys. Yes.
You didn't talk about the person who's volunteering. There's a person who is, I say, homeless, and he got resources, and now he works with the bridge, volunteering to help others like himself.
That's awesome. That's awesome to hear. All right. Again, thank you very much. We have 2 presentations tonight. I'm going to make my way down to the podium. Face the people. Elena
Mercado.
Mercado.
Yes. So as part of our 60th anniversary celebration last September, we thought it would be fun to have a photo contest. This would allow the community to share their favorite images of Desert Hot Springs. We had 3 categories: hometown pride, beautiful landscapes, and animals. We ended up receiving a total of 44 entries, and the city council voted on their favorite picture. And we're thrilled to announce the winner of our recent recent photo contest, Elena Mercado. The picture was taken on West Drive in Two Bunch Palms, and the caption for this photo was "Forever Chasing the Next Sunset." The picture is also displayed on a billboard for anyone that wants to see it. Here it is, on Palm and Dillon. And I want to thank everyone who participated and made this contest a success, and a big congratulations to Elena.
We all voted enough to make you the winner. So we were given the option to pick a few pictures, and this one obviously all of us liked a lot, and it brings a lot of pride to our community and what it really shows from the views that we have here in Desert Hot Springs. So thank you. And on behalf of the mayor and the city council, we wanted to recognize you for being the City of Desert Hot Springs 2023 photo contest winner.
Talk about how this picture, you ended up taking this picture.
Okay. Hi, I'm Elena. It was, well, thank you for inviting me here and to be recognized. This is such an honor. And for all the council that voted for me, thank you. It was actually, my daughter is here. She's the model. She's that one. She's right over there. She was, that was March 2020, and she was only 16, and she was learning how to drive. She's now 19, and that day the sunset was so perfect. So we happened to pull over at the school, Two Bunch Palms, and that was West and Two Bunch Palm Street. And so she got out and I got out, and I said, oh my God, the sunset's so perfect. And she was standing right there, and we were just enjoying the sunset, and I took a picture of her, and she made the perfect heart. I don't know how to make a perfect heart. I mean, she just makes the perfect heart, and I just like snap and right there. And when I saw that there was a photo contest, and that was the first photo that came to mind. So I entered it, and here I am. But so thank you so much. Thank you.
Stay up here and we'll take a picture real quick. Roberta, please stay in the picture. Everybody wants to?
Yeah. She's
You're the model.
You're the model.
Have her go like this when we take the
Oh, I know.
I've got 3 daughters at home, so I know how this happened. Mom was trying to take a picture. Hold on. The daughter just jumped in.
I need your ID. Hold on. No, you're coded.
Don't say that.
Yeah.
She's going to take a picture.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Thank you.
one with the heart.
You gotta do the heart.
Yeah, hold on. Let me get the one with the heart.
I don't know how. There you go.
Perfect. Thank you.
Well, I don't know. I moved to San Diego, so.
That's a bigger time mayor there. All right. Just gonna go around and teach everybody how to make hearts now. So we have a special recognition tonight. I'd like to invite up Jennifer Mizrahi. Would you come up? So Jennifer came out and she brought these tissues because she said she's going to have a few things to say and she might cry, and now she's going to make me cry. Tell people all this every time. As soon as I turn 50 now, I want to cry over everything. I got 3 daughters, so I think that was part of it. But Jennifer started as an attorney for our city in not code enforcement, planning commission.
Yes.
And year 2012. I was going to say 11.
Years.
So 12 years ago. And she served our city on the planning commission and then moved her way when we changed firms with that firm and became our city attorney. And she's been our city attorney now for 7 years, 6 years?
Sure.
Yeah, I'm somewhere in there. It's about time I became mayor, you became our city attorney. So with that said, she's served us very well over these years, but the other day she notified us that she's taken another position with another firm, and our contract's with the firm that she's currently with. Tuan, wave your hand out there. Tuan is more than 16 years old. He has his law degree. He will be sitting in as the interim city attorney for right now, and taking over the position as Jennifer exits. But we wanted to recognize you for your service and everything you've done for our city. It's not easy. I've been up here for 17 years, and it is a roller coaster sometimes in public administration and public policy, and Jennifer is the one that guides us. The city council hires 2 people, the city attorney and the city manager. And so she's constantly trying to make 5 people happy, and that's not easy, let alone all the staff work that she does for the city. So with that said, and I wanted to add this too, she's a mom. She's got a 9-year-old son, and she lives in Los Angeles. No one knows why. Probably that's where her son is. But she lives in Los Angeles and commutes out here all the time to work for us. So with that said, we wanted to say thank you, and we wanted to present her with a plaque for her service to the city of Desert Hot Springs, for her dedicated service, commitment, and exceptional contributions to the city of Desert Hot Springs.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, members of council, if I may, I will just take a couple minutes. I have a couple notes. Oh gosh, it has been 12 years. I've been practicing for 22, 23, so just about half my career with the city. And I'm going to say kind of 3 points, just kind of number 1, what the city has done for me and what kind of I feel like I've done for the city. Number 2, just some personal notes. And number 3, I'll pass the baton over to Tuan. This city has been such a pillar in my life. Not only have I grown with the city, I feel as well that the city has grown with me as well. Kind of always been part of a team. I've always felt that I was part of a team. I never felt that I was some outside city attorney. It was a team where we grew, and we grew a lot. We grew from the trailers that we had in our old city council, not city council chambers, but our old city hall, to this beautiful building, and just felt that I was always a part of it. I've treated this city as my family, not only as the institution that it is, but also the staff and the city council. They have become my family over 12 years, and so this was a very, very difficult decision. One of the greatest things, though, about the city is it's provided me not only with such great professional growth. We built single-handedly the first cannabis community and cannabis regulations. And if you would have told me back 25 years ago in law school that I'd be dealing with cannabis, I would have been like, no, that's, we all go to jail for that. What are you talking about? And it has just been an incredible, incredible journey. And to think that I was part of it. I was part of that journey, and I'm so incredibly proud of everything that the city council and staff and myself, we've all accomplished together. One other thing that I wanted to say about the city council and staff is they are the most dedicated people to this community that I know. I've been in municipal law for 22 years, 23 years, and you won't find people who are more dedicated to the community. They have hearts the size of Texas. They are truly incredible people who care about the community and care about just the betterment, I think, of everybody here. On a very personal level, I think the city made me a better lawyer. It really did. It allowed me the opportunity to work hard and work in different areas that I never expected that I would even dream of working in. It's challenged me incredibly, and I'll just never forget it at all. I'll never forget the city. It's been such a huge part of my career. With that, I'm going to be passing the baton over to Tuan Vu. I've worked with Tuan for 12 years as well. He's very much a part of the city as well. And he is just one of the best lawyers I know. So I know that the city is in incredible hands with Tuan, and most importantly with city council and staff. And I just wanted to thank everybody without crying too much after well over a decade. But it has been just an absolute pleasure, and I'm so incredibly grateful for everything that the city has personally offered me. Thank you.
And again, on behalf of the City Council, the City Administration, thank you for your longevity with us, your service. What people don't recognize a lot of times is every policy, every decision the council makes has to touch the city attorney at one point so she can tell us whether we're doing it right or wrong. Sometimes we get overzealous as a council and we want to go forth on a lot of things that we hear from our constituents, and she puts us back on, reality sometimes about what we can and can't do, and that's not an easy job, especially when you have a lot of passion up here. So you do have your war wounds from dealing with us, I'm sure, over the time, but you're definitely an awesome person, and I think we'll be lifetime friends.
Thanks, God.
We'll take a picture, and we're going to take a recess for
Mr. Mayor,
5 minutes.
could I just say something?
Go ahead.
Jennifer, the mayor said that you're trying to make all of us happy, but there's a lot of things I could say, to say thanks. But what I want to say is that the times that you didn't say yes, the times that you disagreed, were to me the most important, because like the mayor just said, we're trying to sort out stuff. We got people coming at us who want to know why we can't do stuff, and we come at you with a question, and if you agree, great, we're happy. But if we don't, we're just as happy that you brought such expert advice for us and legal opinions. And I just can't thank you enough for my time serving with you. You've been an absolute pleasure to work with. Thank you.
You didn't cry, but I might. It's going to be very difficult to not look over there and see your smiling face, and to know that I can always call you for advice. And everything we've worked on, I can't believe, in the 6 years I've been here, the amount of things we've worked on together and accomplished. I'm terribly proud of it. I'm terribly proud of you. We'll have to come over to LA and have a couple of tacos.
I just want to say thank you, and thank you for not talking to me like a lawyer. I'd ask her a question and she'd make it plain. Thank you.
Also, I want to echo what the rest of the council have said. You've always been there for us, and especially answering those questions that we always had for you. You've always had the door open for us, and I really do appreciate it and wish you the best of luck. Thank you.
We'll be on recess till 6 o'clock. Thank you. Did you lose your way?
My apologies.
No worries. We're going to call back to order the City of Desert Hot Springs amended agenda, regular meeting of the City Council, and the City Council serving as a successor agency to the former Redevelopment Agency Board for Tuesday, February 6, 2024, and this is our 6 p.m. regular session. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Betts.
Present.
Councilmember Gardner.
Present.
Councilmember Nunez.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Pai.
Present.
And Mayor Mattis.
Present. Invocation tonight is going to be given by Pastor Tarrant, and you're from Covenant Church. Did I get that right? So many churches here in town that I'll do some great work, and I just want to make sure I didn't mess that up.
No worries. Well, thanks. Good evening, everybody. Let's pray. Father, we do thank you for your kindness to us, Lord God. We thank you for your patience and your love, Lord. We know that you wish above all things that we succeed and excel in our endeavors. So we pray tonight, Lord God, your great wisdom on our leaders tonight, Lord God, the decisions that they make, that they help our city and our community, Lord, to succeed, to excel, Lord God, to prosper and to be safe. We thank you for your great wisdom. We bless our leaders, Lord God, and we thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you very much. All right, Mr. Nunez, lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our next item is going to be the report from the city attorney on closed session. Mr. City Attorney.
Thank you, Mayor. There is no reportable action.
Thank you very much. On the approval of the agenda, we'll also be taking the consent calendar. Before we do that, is there any comments from the public on the consent calendar? I see nobody coming forth. Is there any items to be pulled from the consent calendar or any questions on the consent calendar?
Mr. Mayor, on item 8, I will be voting no, as I did the other 2 times, but other than that, I have no problem, don't need to pull it.
Ms. Pye?
I have a question for the city manager, and it's regarding the unmanned drone. And the question is, are the privacy issues?
So I'll defer this over to our chief of police and maybe our deputy chief of police, but the intent of that policy is not to invade anybody's privacy. It is only to expand the enforcement and the safety of our men and women enforcing our laws.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, question, are we taking that item now, or are we just voting on consent?
She's asking a question. If anyone wants to ask more questions on that, then we would need to pull it because then it becomes an agenda item. She just wants clarification on something.
Yeah, I think it'd be good to pull it and take it up when it's time.
Do you need to pull it, or has the question
I'm
been
not asking you to
satisfied?
pull it. I was satisfied with the question, and I'm ready to vote on the consent.
Does anybody need to pull anything?
No.
Okay, then I just need a motion to approve the consent
So moved,
as
Mr.
is
Mayor.
and approve the agenda.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Mr. Gardner, Mr. Nunez, please vote.
Motion passes unanimously with Councilmember Betts voting no on item 8.
No, I voted yes.
He was reaffirming that you voted no on item 8.
Sorry, thank you.
We will now move to public comments. If you have any public comments, there's blue cards in the back there. At this time, pursuant to the Brown Act, any persons may comment on matters of general interest within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council, not listed on the agenda. Under the Brown Act, the City Council shall not take action on or discuss matters raised during public comment portion of the agenda that are not listed on the agenda. All comments are redirected to the City Council and shall be devoid of any personal attacks. Members of the public are expected to maintain professional, courteous decorum during the public comment. Brian Brodowski.
Good evening. My name is Brian Brodowski, and I'm here on behalf of the Rotary Club of Desert Hot Springs. I'm currently the president of Rotary Club of Desert Hot Springs and also one of 13 assistant governors in our district of over 62 clubs encompassing Coachella Valley, San Bernardino, and Riverside counties. I just wanted to give you a little information about what our club here is doing and has done as of late. This past weekend, a couple of us went to PETS, which is the event for new presidents coming in. We are excited to have a new president, all of going to be 22 years old, Alyssa Nieto, who will be our incoming president in July. She will be the youngest president in our district and probably many districts throughout Rotary. She started as an Interact student in 9th grade and has worked her way up to become a president. We're very excited about that, and I look forward to you meeting her in the near future. This weekend, we are participating in the Tour de Palm Springs to raise several $1,000s in being part of their beer garden on Palm Canyon, and hopefully that will go off correctly. Our Interact and Early clubs are in both the high school, one of the middle schools, and 4 of our elementary schools, teaching leadership, community service, and responsibility to young people. We raise money at our comedy night. We are planning our Big Heart, which is our big vocational event in May 23rd this year. So that, of course, we know is the event that honors big and small businesses, volunteers, people from the school board, city staff, police, and fire. So we look forward to a great event this year. We recently, a couple of months ago, installed a bench celebrating 75 years of a Rotary Club in Desert Hot Springs at the Rotary Park, and that was a very nice little addition. We, in November, sent 13 students to Pride Camp, which is a leadership camp in Crestline, at the cost of $375 per student. And come up in March and April of this year, we're sending 27 students to Crestline. These will be 11th graders going to RILA, which is Rotary Youth League Academy. All this money is raised by us Rotarians and the goodness of sponsors like the city and others who help in our programs. We also do a book giveaway to all first grade students going to second grade at the end of the year, so they get to have their own book and perhaps exchange with others over the summer. We're planning on a Desert Hot Spring.
I have to cut you off here in a minute. If you could finish your thought.
Okay, well, I wanted to thank everyone for their continued support of Rotary, and boy, those 3 minutes go fast.
They do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, hopefully I'm not pronouncing this wrong. It's Thu? Is it? I'm sorry. I apologize. And I don't think I'm going to try your last name. I'll let you. And Charles McKay, I know both of you are speaking. Who wants to go first?
I go, but Charles can be just stand
And how do
here,
you
then
say?
he can, yeah.
How do you say your name?
Two?
Two?
Yes. Okay. So, good evening. My name is Tu Huynh, and I'm here to represent my highly regarded client, Charles McKay. He is a retired captain, U.S. Army, and had dedicated his entire life to serve our country and the government. And he also the rightful owner of the property located at 65548 Avenida Barona, Desert Hot Spring, California 92240. My role has been to assist Mr. McKay in efficiently managing his short-term rental at this mentioned address due to his decline in health. Unfortunately, we find ourselves in a situation where we strongly believe that our client's rights have been unfairly violated by the City of Desert Hot Springs, as well as its director officers and one of the city councils. It is with great disappointment that we bring this matter to your attention. Allow me to provide some context. So prior to the day of January 11, 2024, we have received both verbal and written confirmation from Code Compliance Officer Jasmine McLean and Lonnie Brook that we were eligible to schedule an inspection in order to successfully renew our vacation rental permit. We had diligently submitted all the required documents well in advance of the permit expirations and were explicitly advised by these individuals that we could arrange for the inspection to take place following the conclusion of the holiday season. However, on the January 11, 2024, we received a phone call from Ms. Christina Newsom, the co-compliance director, informing us of an anonymous complaint about a supposed rat infestation in our backyard, despite having a pest report stating otherwise. After the call, Ms. Newsom emailed us stating that our permit had expired and could no longer be renewed. She acknowledged that her officer had provided us with incorrect information, putting our renewal fee at risk and rendering our permit is invalid. However, she refused to assist us, citing a new law regarding the timeline restriction for permit renewal. We have every reason to believe that this is an intentionally spiteful decision, considering that Councilman Roger Nunes lives next door to Charles, my client, and they have had unfriendly encounters in the past. We also have a statement provided from Mr. Lube Rodriguez, the neighbor residing adjacent to my client, Charles McKay, that he has no grievance or issues pertaining to Charles' decision to rent out his property short-term or to any rats concerned in his backyard. So we feel it is crucial to bring these concerns to your attention and request a fair and just resolution to this matter. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Mr. McKay, you can now have 3 minutes if you choose.
My name is Charles McKay.
I bought the home a year and a half ago, and for a retirement home. I spent 7 months and $75,000 in a complete restoration of the house inside and out, landscaping, water, everything. In this October, I was diagnosed with bladder cancer, and I've just last week completed chemo and immunotherapy. I won't know till April 25th whether it worked. And I've spent our life savings on this home. My wife will retire in about 8 months, and we wanted to live in it full time. However, we spent our fortune on it, and right after I moved in, a tall German man named Andre, I think, or Andre, came by and I told him what we were doing. We were renovating the home and going to short-term it to pay for the renovation and move in when we retire completely. And he was very unfriendly and was very angry with short-term rentals. I also spoke to Roger. At that time, we were fine. And then, but he also expressed problems with the Airbnb across the street or down the way or somewhere. There was one across the street. But I lived there for 7 months during the renovation. I never saw any problem with the house across the street. I met some of the people who stayed there. They were very nice. So on April was the first time we actually rented it out. And within just a week or two, I got a fine for $4,000. And so I called the city and they said, "Oh, you have a permit?" I said, "Yeah, well, it was inspected. Officer, I think his name was Campbell, came. Everything was fine. We upped our insurance to $1 million liability and all that kind of stuff." And the city, I called the city and they said, "Oh, that was an anonymous complaint." I said, "Well, why would you take a picture of my house and send me all this stuff without at least checking your records to know we have a permit?" And they said, "Okay, never mind." Well, then I got another one in January it was for January 21st, which was the date that I know we had a water heater put in and we had our new couch delivered. It was in the evening by the property manager, and that was on my camera. And there's never been any noise or problem at my property. The only 2 events that my security system ever picked up was a party that Mr. Nunes had, but nobody's at my house. I saw it on the camera. Oh, okay. And then once a basketball from his kids hit my front porch, and the camera.
Mr. McKay, I'm going to have to cut you off. Your 3 minutes are up at this point. So what I'm going to say at this point is you've had 6 minutes between the two of you to talk about this. The proper way to file a complaint would be to talk with the city manager's office at this point moving forward. You're more welcome to come back at the next council meeting, make comments. Mr. Nunez can respond to you, but not directly as of right now. Yeah. He may respond to his council comments, which you might want to wait for, which is going to come up next after public comments if you choose to wait around. But I would suggest to see the city manager's office for any further complaints.
When? Now? Tonight?
Someone will assist you in the audience.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Moen.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, for allowing me to say a few words tonight. I'm Tom Moen, 45-year resident of Desert Hot Springs. And I love Desert Hot Springs. It's a wonderful town. Something that I do not hear very much from our council is jobs. Desert Hot Springs needs jobs. We don't need anything that's going to kill jobs. We need jobs. We have many people early in the morning driving to the other towns because that's where their job is. And if we had more jobs here, we'd have less commuting. And with Varner Road being in such decrepit condition, and that's not our fault, that's someone else's fault. Cathedral City is not taking care of that road properly. That road has been in their control since 2007, and as I told you before, my wife had a flat tire, and when the club came to change her tire, they said that was the 8th tire that day. We need to address Cathedral City and let them know that they are responsible. They have taken that responsibility. Kathy DeRosa was the mayor, and she signed an agreement with a whole long list of stuff they were going to do that they haven't done. And I think our council should stick up for our citizens and address that with them. And our roads are in fairly good shape, thanks to that survey that was done. But you know, the paint on the center lines and other places isn't bright enough. I'm 64 years old. I was 20 when I moved here, and my eyes don't work as good as they used to, and we need to address that. There's a lot of seniors in this city, and I think we should have the brightest stripes on the road that's legal to put down. And thank you so much for listening to me, but again, jobs and good roads provided by the rest of the valley, especially Cathedral City. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moon. Scott, you're going to speak on just a public event, not the tax item right now? Right. Oh, you come on up.
Good evening. My name is Scott Russick. Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, council members, city staff, it's nice to see everyone. I just wanted to make a brief announcement on behalf of the Coachella Valley Cannabis Alliance Network, CVCAN, which is holding an open to the public CBD and cannabis education for wellness program on February 21st between 5 and 8 p.m. at Miracle Springs Resort and Spa. As I mentioned, the event is open to the public. You're all invited. One of our board members, a registered nurse, and her wife will be giving a presentation on how to safely use cannabis for wellness. The idea is to, like I like to say, bring the canna curious under the tent and work towards destigmatization for the use of plant medicine for wellness. Some of the topics will include current news and research, cannabis components, cannabis terminology, types of products, whatnot. It's an educational event. A number of dispensaries from the entire valley will be present to answer questions, and so we hope that you can all come and visit and see what's happening and talk about cannabis for wellness. And I will check with the folks out front. If it's appropriate to leave flyers tomorrow, I will. If it's not, then I won't. I'm not sure what the rules are on that, but I will find out, and I just wanted to let everyone know. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Scott. Anyone else like to make any public comments on non-agendized items tonight? Yes, sir. And when you're done, if you can just see the city clerk, we'll need to get you a blue card so you can, but please feel free to come up and state your name, and then you have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name's Louis Diafario, 9900 Palm. I've been in the city since 1991, and I just wanted to thank all the council and the city employees. I think they do a good job here. Recently, my office burnt, and there's an issue with that, and Emily Pearson and Christina Newsom have really helped me through the process. So thank you, guys. Thanks for your service.
Thank you. Any other public comments before we close public comments? All right, we're going to close public comments, and we're going to move to the city manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Before I turn it over to Ms. Wilms, I just wanted to say, as your new city manager, I know Jennifer left. I got to say goodbye to her a few seconds ago, but the time that at least that I've spent with Jennifer, she has been a consummate professional, and it's been a pleasure to work with her. Looking forward to working with Tuan to provide that same leadership and expertise and within the law. So I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Wilms for some other updates.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Tonight, for updates, we're going to start with Jeffrey Buckheim, our Administrative Services Director, who will be providing some financial updates.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. So our financial highlights as of January 31st, 2024 for the 23-24 fiscal year, we've collected $10.3 million in revenue, which is 31% of the adopted budget. Last year at this time, we collected 11.8 million, which is 35%. And then 2 years ago, we collected a little over 13 million at 41%. I'd like to point out that 2 years ago, $1.7 million of that revenue included the transfer from ARPA funds for the dispatch center. And then I'd also like to point out for this year's revenues, the city received the first tax payment from the county for the property taxes. We received a check just late last week, so finance is is processing that deposit, so we haven't been able to record that just yet. But that is about $2 million, almost $2 million that will be going to the consolidated general fund. And then for expenditures, for this fiscal year, we're at over 19.9 million, which is 60% of the budget. Last year at this time, we were at 17.8 million, which was 51% of the budget. And 2 years ago, we're at 14.8 million, which was at 45% of the budget.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Next, we're going to have Daniel Porras, our Assistant City Manager, provide some updates on our public safety campus and fire station.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. The city has been working on two new facility projects, the Public Safety Campus project and the Fire Station 98 project. The Public Safety Campus project, the plans were finalized and approved at the end of last year. The city went out to RFP for construction. The period closed, and we did receive multiple bids from contractors. We're currently reviewing and validating every single bid. They are large bid packages that do require extra review. We are planning on bringing that to our future council meeting for award. And then the Fire Station 98 project, also all plans were approved. It currently is actually out to bid for construction, and the bid closes on the 22nd of February, which is about 2 weeks from today. Also, we'll be reviewing the bids and then bring those back at a future date for award for construction. Thank you.
Thank you, Danny, and that concludes our updates.
Thank you very much. Move to mayor and council member comments at this time. Start with Mr. Betts.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On the 24th of January, I attended Sunline. The news there is they're replacing, I think, 16 the CNG buses with newer, not new, CNG buses. The fleet had gotten really old. Sunline had been relying heavily on hydrogen, still is moving in that direction, but there was a few hiccups along the way. When you're at cutting edge technology, sometimes it doesn't always pan out the way you want it to. So anyhow, we had to press some of the older fleet into service, and it turned out to be past its useful life. So anyhow, they're bringing in 16 buses. I attended Southern California Association of Governments on February 1st. And every once in a while, there's a presentation that is really interesting. This one was, the presentation time on the agenda was supposed to be 15 minutes. It ended up being 45 minutes with heaps of questions and interest. I'm going to share just a little bit of that with you. They made a presentation of what they called a quick build. And this was up in Los Angeles, where the attempt was to bring some order to the school drop-off zones. I'm sure anybody who's a parent or a grandparent dropping their kid off knows that it can get quite hectic. Parents are doing U-turns when they're not supposed to, at normal traffic. So they had a street up in Los Angeles with a school, I think it was Chateau Avenue. And where was it? I have it here. I always forget to bring my show and tell, but there it is. And it was called, Chateau Place. And they had a combination of school, businesses, delivery trucks, busy boulevard, and just absolute chaos. So what they did was they said, we got to try and do something to make this better. So the city of Los Angeles put somebody in charge, like one of our staffers would be if we were to do it here, on how to fix this. And what they came up with was, rather than the chaos that's going on now, they handled it more like a taxi queue at an airport. And what they did is they created a dedicated lane, which would be like a taxi lane, only this is a lane for the parents to come in and pick up their kids. They took away a lane, which became the area where the kids queue up. They put a lot of colors in. I've got it here for the staff, for the drawings and everything. And they were expecting a lot of people in the community, especially the businesses. What are you doing? You're taking away our lanes. And typically when you take away the lanes, everybody complains. But what ended up happening was everybody says, wow, there's actually some order here. Now, not all winners. Somebody wanted to park their delivery van in the middle of the street like they used to do, adding to all the confusion. They can't do that anymore. But for the most part, it's worked really well. And the kids now, the parents aren't sitting there hanging out. They're pulling into this queue and the kids are getting in. And the question I asked is, well, is there some parent who's, taking too long to get their kid in and out of the car? That's what I run into every once in a while. Somebody, hey, get ready, go, get out of there, get out of the way. We want to go through here. And they said, no, it's all really orderly. So the only reason I'm bringing it up is that, like I said, this was supposed to be a 15-minute agenda item. It went for 45 minutes, kind of threw the schedule off at SCAG that day. But I think it's something we should take a look at. And it's just every once in a while something comes along that's really neat and unique. And so I'll pass that along. It's an agenda item, so I'm sure it's on video. Maybe we could take some time and explore that. It is going to take some effort. It wasn't just a magic wand. They had to get buy-in from everybody. It took staff time, but they did get it done, and it seems to be working. I happen to know somebody who's at the local 770 up there that frequents that street, and they said, yeah, it was a good transformation. So there's a union hall next door, or on the same street. Anyhow, okay, so that's that. Hopefully staff can take a look at that and maybe come back with a recommendation, something that we could do here. Using a pilot project at one of the schools, the high school would be good. I can stop honking my horn at everybody. No, I don't honk my horn. I can't. At CVAG Energy and Environment, the conversation focused on curtailing dust in the Coachella Valley. And I think the rain has kind of probably solved some of the dust issue, and I don't know if it's going to come back. But the storm created a whole bunch of silt. And what we were ending up with, as everybody knows, was a dust overcast. Overcast skies, but it was dust. It wasn't normal clouds like you get up in LA area. And if you experience that, you're down valley when they got this layer of dust up above and this block in the sun, it's dark. And just like magic, you pull up Palm Drive and you break out of it and it's all nice and bright and sunny. We got our blue skies. We aren't experiencing that. I think the takeaway for our city is that some of the hoteliers down valley are having a situation where, guests may be going and visiting and having to dust off the lounge chair. We don't have that here. So if there's any messaging that we're getting out, it would be, come to Desert Hot Springs. Not only do we have great healing waters, but we don't have dusty lounge chairs. So anyhow. I'm trying to look at my calendar here. There was so much here I could cover. I don't want to go into too much, but I do want to cover one last item, which was the community cleanup days, which have gone much better than I was anticipating. We did one on January 13th. We took care of 3 lots on Nahum Drive. We expected to take care of 1. And this crew that showed up, I don't know what they were doing or why they were so anxious at 8 in the morning to get going, but we filled up the first dumpster in 15 minutes and had to call in a few more. And so we got 3 lots cleaned up there. There was probably about 20, I think it was 18 volunteers that showed up that day, just regular ordinary citizens showing up. And they worked really hard. Then we did another one on just this past Saturday, and we did a section of Hacienda Boulevard. And I'm sitting there waiting for people to show up, and only 9 people showed up, and I had a whole lot more planned based on the first event. But wow, they dug in too. I think they saw how much we had to do, how few there were, and they just did a great job knocking it out. And so it was really, really good to see that volunteerism. And so we're dedicated to doing one of those now every 2 weeks. There's a committee forming, group forming of people that are just volunteers. And this is all completely volunteers, no city resources, city funds involved. There's things we do need, like trash bags. And so if anybody's of a mind to want to donate some trash bags, we're happy to have those. Gloves, disposable gloves we've been providing. But at some point in time, the people who have been donating some of that stuff, namely me, are going to say we need a little help on the fundraising. So we've gone through 100 bags in the last 2 events. So anyway, it's made a big difference. If anybody wants to volunteer, just give me contact me. I'm happy to get you on the list. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor. We're done.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening. Not a lot of updates on things, a couple of meetings, but nothing pertaining to Desert Hot Springs directly. Did want to give a shout out and a thanks to our public works staff. I was hoping Nick was here tonight, but but he's not. We're getting out and getting things ready for the storm we've had the last couple of days. I was walking the dog at 5 a.m. Sunday morning, and there they were out there putting out barricades. You know, we got to give these guys a lot of credit because that is not great work, and they've been out posting signs, making sure that we're as prepared as we can be for that storm. And it is really miserable work, and you know, we all appreciate it. So hopefully, Nick and the public works staff, you're hearing this, and we really appreciate it. Our new changeable message sign is up and working. Saw it the other morning. I was headed out, and Gene Autry was closed, and I'm coming up, and the sign says Gene Autry is closed. Use an alternate route, and I went, "Yay!" Not that Gene Autry was closed, but that the sign was working, and that's something that we've been working on. Lisa Middleton, Councilmember Lisa Middleton from Palm Springs, and myself were able to secure some funding for that way back in 2019 when we had another flood, and here we are just in time for this year's flood. We got the sign up and running, so it's working. Still some bugs, I know, to be worked out on it. So, but it's great, and it looks really good. And lastly, the council took a tour of the road rebuilding that effort coming after the tropical storm Hillary last summer, and it was absolutely stunning how massive the damage was and how monumental the rebuild is going to be. And it's hard to describe. I'm hoping maybe in the next week or so we can get a slideshow up on that stuff. But things are progressing, and I you know, we thank everybody for their patience. I know it's been a long, trying trip, and it's getting there. I've just got my fingers crossed that we didn't have any damage or delay because of the storm the last couple of days. But it's coming along, and if everybody has a little bit more patience, we'll be done before you know it. That's all I've got. Thanks.
Ms. Pye?
On January 20th, the Historical Society had an open house for the Rock House, and it was a very good event. On January 21, Grace Church hosted, I'll tell you in a minute, Danny Holt for the classical concerts, and I gave him a proposition from
Proclamation.
Thank you, from the mayor, on behalf of the mayor and the city council, and he was very excited because it was Danny Holt Day, and he was so excited. He kept talking about it, and I can't believe it. Oh, I'm supposed to be doing a program. So he was thrilled, and after it was over, the participants who attended, they were very glad too and said it was very good that the mayor did that. Their next event is on Sunday, February 11th at 4 p.m. and again, it's at Grace Church. January 22nd, I attended Desert Healthcare District regarding Desert Regional. Desert Healthcare District leases Desert Regional, and the situation is, what are they going to do about it? They're doing it right now far enough where there's more time, and right now they are going to figure out what happens if they own it, so they're doing some analytical stuff on that. On February, you did that. On February 23rd, Students of the Month was held at Agua Caliente on Bob Hope, and I and the city manager attended that, and it was very touching, and you get to hear what the students have done and what they have overcome. And then later that night, I attended the same thing well, almost the same thing, but it was presented by the Palm Springs Leadership Association, and it was for students in Desert Hot Springs. And again, you got to hear about how the students had overcome. various things and their grade point average. And a lot of times we say that our kids are good, and they are. But we also much say that the parents are good too for what they instill in the kids. And there was one, I think it's you that keeps talking about people go to college and need to come back. Well, there's a young lady in elementary school, Kayla Gustafson, and she has already put on the calendar for 2035 that she's going to come back here and be a teacher. Okay, I did that. February 1, the 4th District Homeless Symposium was in Indio, and Noe, Dora gave a presentation. And there they are. They gave a presentation based on what we're doing at the hub. And everyone was impressed by it. And the supervisor gave certificates for that. And it was about several people that were there across the Coachella Valley. And it was a good thing. And they talked about collaboration. And a lot of the people who did talk about what was happening in their city talked about collaboration, and it was a very good symposium. I don't remember that being done before, but this was good. Also today, Noe, Dora, and Officer Greg Ellis provided a presentation for the Desert Hot Springs Women's Club. And they spoke about the hub. And one of the things that Officer Elias talked about was his compassion for the people that are homeless and how he helps them go to the hub or has resources. There was a lady who talked about a lady, and I'm sure all of you seen her, and I won't talk about her, but she's there. And the person in the audience wanted to know, what can we do about her? Well, Officer Elias had already talked to her this morning. It wasn't the first time, but he had already talked to her this morning. She's not ready. And he's offered the hub to her. And it's kind of like what I have said before. They have to be touched several times before they start to trust someone. And he talks about how his compassion is he's working with them. He's not working to harass them or to put them in jail. No, he talked about the grants that he's trying to get. And Dora talked about how we're doing the best that we can. We're new, with something she talked about in the symposium, but we're figuring it out. Also, this week, she met with Bridge from Word of Life Church, discussing the different things that happen. Now, one of the things I told them, because they were all in a group, it was about 8 or 9 of them, and Noe, Dora, and Officer Greg Elias was there. And one of the things I told them, when they're down there, they need to talk to Noe. When there's a problem or something happens, they came to me because a lady didn't have she wasn't given the right bunk. She was disabled and she couldn't go on the top bunk. So they come to me for me to tell them what to do. No, we set policy. You want to talk to someone, you talk to Noe. And so that was my discussion with them. And they were very pleased about it. Almost finished. Not yet, almost. This is Black History Month. Not yet. And this gentleman received a Rockefeller Fellowship to study at Columbia University and trained at the why can't I say?
You're asking, I'm going to ask Gary. Presbyterian?
What he said, hospital in New York City. He developed a method for processing and preserving blood plasma, or blood without cells. Plasma lasts much longer than whole blood, making it possible to be stored or banked for longer periods of time. As World War II raged in Europe, he was asked to head up a special medical effort known as Blood for Britain. He organized the collection and processing of blood plasma from several New York hospitals and the shipment of these life-saving materials overseas to treat casualties in the war. He spearheaded another blood bank effort, this time for the American Red Cross. He worked on developing a blood bank to be used for U.S. military personnel. But not long into his tenure there, he became frustrated with the military requests for segregating the blood donated by African Americans. At first, the military did not want to use blood from African Americans, but they later said it would only be used for African American soldiers. Dr. Charles Drew was outraged by this racial policy and resigned his post after only a few months. You know, you will hear some things where people say, we all have the same blood. And that is true. It depends on the vessel of the person who has it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Nunez.
I can't follow that, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mrs. Pye. Thank you for your. I just have just a couple of things, mainly the AYSO updates. So we finally closed the season. We had a closing ceremony. We had a luncheon for all the people, all the volunteers, coaches, parents, and team moms and whatnot. It was very successful. Within that time, we went over what's going to be happening with the soccer league in the coming years. One of them, of course, I've mentioned before, is we're going to have a major tournament next year, welcoming all the cities in the Coachella Valley to participate in. Right now, we are in the middle of the select team, which is the teams that go on to other cities to go play. From there, if our team advances, then we go to regional, which is Southern California, and so forth. At the end of this month, we're having a skills an academy, a training academy, and an academy for anyone that wants to participate. So the practices will be during the week, and then the games will be on the weekends. So hopefully that's continuing. So this clinic that we're going to be having is from the head soccer coach from COD boys soccer team. So he's willing to come down here and put on the clinic for the kids and also give them a skills training. So I think this is a very good opportunity for the city to expose soccer to the youth, and then hopefully we can get the chief of police to volunteer and ref next year and coach. So that's other than that, Mr. Mayor, we had on January 27th, the city, the official city cleanup committee had the last of our cleanup committee, which was Corsini Elementary School. We had a great turnout, and man, we got, I think from there we got at least 5 or 6 couples that are willing to continue to do the cleanup. So I'm hoping that we can continue for this year too, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you. I attended on the 18th the Parent Advisory Committee at Desert Hot Springs High School. They do it once or twice a year. And I'm always impressed by our principal at the high school, Mr. Tinoco. He's put together a program through our high school that really builds partnerships with our parents and our kids and our leaders in our community. And so he gave us an update on where he's at, what he's doing, and so that was great to attend. As mentioned up here on 3rd Street, the Historical Society had bought a property called the Rock House, and they dedicated it not too long ago there. It's on the 20th. And it was really heartwarming to see that a lot of people came out for the event, but it was really awesome to see that the historical, I'm going to mess up this, but the County of Riverside has a historical designation through the historical preservation. Thank you. Whew. I'm having trouble too. And they actually built a plaque that's going to be embedded in some concrete, and it's actually a historical designated site now. So that's pretty awesome. We have Cabot's Museum, and now we have the Rock House. If you haven't been, they'll have hours posted soon for tours, but it gives the history on how this Rock House was built. It was one of the first homes in Desert Hot Springs, and there was a handful of them built and how the builder built it, and so it was pretty cool. And it gives you a lot of history about Desert Hot Springs. On the 23rd, the council was given a tour of our washes, and as most of you know, Little Morongo is open. Dillon Road and Indian Canyon are still closed, but they're making great progress, and it was pretty impressive to see what work's being done. The federal government made sure that we put the roads made them functional, was the key word they used, but we were able to enhance them in certain areas. So concrete, some culverts in two of the roadways to help the water move underneath, and in hopes that we don't have another incident like we had in the past, until we can work towards permanent solutions. And CVAG has taken that on right now to really study. So we started a couple years ago, came up with a concept, as most of you know. We received $50 million to help on Palm Springs side of Indian Canyon to start with a fabricated bridge. It's from a $250 million project 20 years ago, who knows what the cost would actually be today, to a $75 million project that will be obtainable. Now the $50 million has been awarded by the state. This is the prototype of what Indian Canyon, other streets in Cathedral, or other main streets in Cathedral City, and in most of the areas of Desert Hot Springs that have are flood prone, will end up having in the future, scaled down to a more affordable solution, but this will give us a roadmap to that. Mr. Moen brought up tonight Varner Road, and I think we've mentioned this before, but I'll reiterate it. We've partnered with Cathedral City. CVAG has also started a regional study on roads, and we continue to go to Cathedral City and say that Varner is a problem. They're not being a partner. They're trying to find federal funding. They've met with the congressman's office. They've met with the state senator and the state assemblyman and looking for solutions. It is a very expensive solution. It has been designed for a 4-lane road and enhancements with all kinds of things. Again, it comes to funding. So we continue to keep it at their forefront from Desert Hot Springs side, because we know it's a thoroughfare into our community. And so it's not going on deaf ears. I want you to understand that. And there's actually a study being done now that's going to actually show some of the areas of real need, which will help in the funding. When you have studies done and projects that are designed on the shelf, it's easier for state and federal government to fund these projects. So we'll keep it in their forefront. I just want to make sure you understand that it's not going on deaf ears. Let's see. The cleanup, as Mr. Nunez said, we finished the last school, so the committee for the City of Desert Hot Springs Cleanup Committee, we decided at one point about a year and a half ago to go out and go to each school, educate the kids on how to dispose of the waste properly. So we have the 1383 requirements, which is organic waste. We have the recycling requirements, and you wouldn't believe how many things you actually recycle that aren't recyclable. But with that said, you have 3 bins now, and so we're teaching the kids at the kids level, hoping that they can educate their parents on putting their trash in the proper places and not into like deserts and stuff. And then we go on the Saturday after the program is after we do the education, we go on a Saturday and we do a cleanup, and we had 10, 15 people show up, which was really nice, and we cleaned up another school. So we're going to reorganize and talk about what the future is for that committee and see where we go from there. I attended the executive committee for the Coachella Valley Association of Governments, and as spoke about by Mr. Betts, one of the committees he sat on pushed the item forward, talking about dust mitigation in the valley. We're very fortunate to be, most people will complain if you're a longtime resident of the wind in the community. But this is fortunate for us because of the soot that was settled by Tropical Storm Hillary. That soot is pushing up from the washes that are environmentally protected here in Palm Springs and Desert Hot Springs and pushing down to the rest of the valley, which is causing major dust and health issues. So they did do a study. They are pushing forth on funding in the future to see if they can help mitigate some of that with what they're doing, like on the sides of the freeway. They're gluing, spraying that glue down to help from the dust moving and those types of things. It's going to be a continuous problem because there's a lot of environmentally safe land out there that you can't do anything with and disturb, and until that soot actually gets off the top layer, it's probably going to be like this for a couple years, but they're going to do whatever they can to help mitigate that in the future. There wasn't much more at the executive level that was pertaining to Desert Hot Springs, and then they had a CVAG administrative committee afterwards. Both Councilmember Gardner and I sit on that. He represents as the chair of CVCC, right? Coachella Valley Conservation Commission, and I represent as the executive committee chair, and we had an admin committee meeting. On the 5th, which was this last Monday, Coachella Valley Association of Governments Transportation Commission met, and I represented us on that. A couple cool things that are going on. The county has been working towards bringing broadband services to areas that don't have those. So East Valley, there's a lot of areas, if you go down towards the Salton Sea, Mecca, thermal areas that don't have broadband services. But what they're also looking at is along Dillon Road out into the Sky Valley, Desert Edge, Sky Valley, and Indio Hills area, which a lot of residents from those areas come and utilize our services, schools and those types of things. This service is moving forth. It's called Riverside Connect, and you can look it up online if you do live in some of these areas and you happen just to pull up our meetings and want to watch. But these are broadband services that will be brought to those areas in the future to help with internet connections for whatever you need, work, school, whatever you need. And then they gave us an update on phase 2 moving forward on the CV Sync, and why that's so important to a lot of us. As mentioned before, a lot of people leave this community to work somewhere else. And the CV Sync is a major project for main thoroughfares throughout the valley to sync all the street lights so that when you're driving through, they're connecting and moving traffic faster and better, but also building transportation, what do you call those, command centers, or not command centers, but dispatch centers. I'm lost for words tonight too. But it's a center where a person can sit there and move traffic faster. So if there's a tennis garden, or there's a tennis tournament, or there's a tour to Palm Springs, or any of the festivals, they can help move that traffic by clicking buttons in this traffic center. And that will happen within every city eventually, whether it's a small scale or a big scale. And the CV Sync is all the wiring and everything going in to make those things available. And Desert Hot Springs has Palm Drive, a couple streets, Palm Drive, the main one, being on that. So in the future, they can help move traffic faster. Met this morning with the Desert Hot Springs Realtors Caravan Group. It's a subset of the Palm Springs Realtors. They come up here once a month to do a breakfast, talk about some of the homes they're selling, and then they have a guest speaker. And I asked the city manager to attend with me, and we went up and gave just a quick overview of what's happening in Desert Hot Springs. And just always a pleasure to talk to that group. They're doing a lot of great work here in Desert Hot Springs. Mr. Moen, you brought up one other thing, jobs. I know that's really important to all of us. I talk about it all the time. We have 10,000 people leaving this community every day on the last count we did years ago. I can only imagine what it is today, and the traffic coming in is horrendous also because of people working outside the community. But I will say this, I want to thank the cannabis industry. They've produced over 4,100 jobs, 1,500 of them being from Desert Hot Springs. That's 33% of the job or coming from Desert Hot Springs residents don't have to leave anymore. So thank you for your support on that. And then we did approve an Amazon middle mile center that will produce hopefully 1,400 jobs, and hopefully a good percentage of those will be Desert Hot Springs residents also. So I know there's a lot of people that work at the Amazon in Beaumont that have taken interest in coming back this way so they don't have to travel as much. So maybe we'll get them off the street too. So we'll continue to do our part, and we are focused on it. I want to reassure you of that. All right, that's all the comments I have tonight.
Mr. Mayor, do you want to talk about the tour to Palm Springs this week?
Yes, I don't have a lot of information on it, but I'll defer to the city manager who has an update on that.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Yeah, we just got word probably I don't know, an hour or two ago. The race is still on. However, due to the storms and the potential impact to Indian, they've looked at an alternative route that keeps them away from Indian and keeps them within Palm Springs and probably heads east from that point in time. So it will still be on, it just will not be through the city of Desert Hot Springs.
So it won't be impacting the city of Desert Hot Springs. Unfortunately, Indian Canyon doesn't look like it might open in time since there's going to be more rain off and on this weekend, Friday. So they've made the choice to move the race through Palm Springs and around Desert Hot Springs, unfortunately. All right. With that, we're going to move to the administrative calendar. Our first item on the administrative calendar is appointment of the delegate and alternate delegate for the 2024 Southern California Association of Governments, also known as SCAG, Annual General Assembly. Let me just ask this. Who's attending? Mr. Betts, are you going? I know you're appointed to a committee. Anyone else? By default, will you accept the delegate? Does anyone else want to be the alternative just in case something comes up and you can't make it? Alternate? Okay, Ms. Pye. All right. With that, if there's even public comment on that, would anybody like to make any public comments on that item? All right. Would you like to move that? And would someone like to second it? And please vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. We'll move to the final item on our administrative calendar, which is item number 5, cannabis tax policy. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Before I start with the presentation and the recommendations, just wanted to first talk about a little background, and I guess jokingly at first, right? So my council in 29 Palms used to try to hurry me off. They gave me a 3-minute time limit, so hopefully I don't opine too long on it. But I think it's important for you to understand kind of the background of kind of where the recommendation came from this evening. So, council last year gave direction to staff, Ms. Wilms and Mr. Porras, to kind of look at ways to mitigate the cost to the industry as the council kind of heard issues. And staff did come back with very substantial mitigation measures for the industry, one of which was reducing the square footage downward, 68,703, and reducing the annual security costs that each facility had to take on, which was approximately $275,000 annually. And then there, several times through the year, last year, the tax was reduced, the square footage tax was reduced from the 1020 to 510 and also 750. So there was a lot of steps that we're taking to mitigate the issues within the industry. Council then, towards the end of the year, gave staff at the point of my appointment to come back and look at it a little further. And so that's what we have done over the last several months. We didn't look at it just in a vacuum within City Hall, which we did talk with our staff, but we also reached out to the community, the industry, CVCAN, and others to try to take on some information and understand where we can go. And so with that, here is the recommendations that were coming forward. And let me explain short term, because I know that was a question that kind of came about. Short term, what I mean by that is what we can put in place now, was the definition of really short term. What can we put into place now? It doesn't mean that it goes away in a couple months. It will be in place until another action is taken by the council, but it is short-term in nature, meaning we could put it immediate in place. There's going to be a few steps along the way, but these are the recommendations that are in front of you this evening. One of which is to reduce the cannabis canopy tax to $5.75. And let me kind of clarify the canopy tax statement there, because I know there's a lot of definitions of it, and it's really the city cultivation tax. Let me be clear on that. So the $5.75 will be the city cultivation tax. That's the recommendation to reduce it down to. Add an annual cannabis license renewal fee of $5,770, which excludes dispensaries, and I'll talk a little bit about that later. That number was total cost recovery. You know, it's a license fee. It's not a tax, it's a fee, and that's recovering of that service that we do provide. Add an allowance for lost crop. Payment arrangements are not an application, are an application and not a right. So a applicant, if they can't make those payments, they have to apply for that, and administratively we'll review that and either grant it or deny it. As opposed to every 6 months, making a larger payment, those payments will be requested and required on a monthly basis. Late fees and penalties, because there was two sides of this. One is having a policy that understands the constraints within the cannabis community, and I think that's what the lowering was. But also, to be firm from the administrative side of it is saying, hey, this is when taxes are due, and to be strong on, late penalties and interest after the due date. Require a connection to Monarch. Monarch is a system that, twofold. One is a collection service. The most germane city that is using it is the city of Lancaster. Have great success there. That can, one, bring in data to the city, sales data to the city, and it'd be an electronic collection service. Today, it's a phone call, it's an email, and now we can automatically extract those payments into the city through that service. Limit, and there were some, I know a lot of questions on this, limit space 500 square feet at a dispensary for cultivation and not plants. When I looked at this, I looked at every aspect of the industry, and one of which was dispensary, and wanted to try to give some ability to the dispensaries to lower their cost of operation. And currently today we restrict or limit the amount of plants that they can grow at 99 plants. And then this would allow, the intent of this would to allow that they would grow more but still have limits to reduce their cost. And they add the ability to create a consumption space. So that, again, from a recommendation from a short-term perspective of it. Then I also wanted to look at the vision. I think the vision of the community is so important. I heard from Ms. Wilms and others how the city first came on the scene was the leaders out there in the cannabis industry. And I think it's important to have that vision, that long-term approach to it, to see where we can go to regain that leadership role in a cannabis community and strive for maybe some things to enhance where we currently are. One of which I think is to convert where we're at today. Again, we're looking at consumption space, square footage space as a tax measure, right? And in theory today is recommended that 2.5 million would be constant. There would be no change. 10 years from now, if we didn't add square foot, it would still be 2.5 million. Whereas if we move to a transactional, we ebb and flow, with the economy. And I think as the economy grows, so do the city coffers. And I think that's a better approach to it. We don't have to worry about square footage. We don't have to worry about lost crop. It's truly just like sales tax, just like hotel tax. It's in that same vein. The other thing, from a visionary perspective, and you're not voting on this tonight, the recommendation is that short-term approach, but I definitely would love to hear these comments on the long-term vision of it, because staff will start working on it. Because as mentioned here, I say 2 to 5 years. It could be plus or minus, depending on the areas here. But I think, from a long-term perspective, I think that these are possible. Another vision approach here is in the manufacturing in the dispensary space. And I did hear, which expected when we did the outreach, a lot of folks came here because in that segment of the industry because of our tax policy. So I think maybe some type of a tiered approach, something that we could work with them to still incentivize them coming here with low, no tax, but when successful, participate in the success of this community. So I think that's something from a visionary perspective to work towards. Build our local brand. The Desert Hot Springs brand is important, right? To establish ourselves as the leader. So how do we do that? That'll be the discussion that we have through the years of establishing that. But I think from a vision perspective, that needs to be worked through. Lobbying, continuing the lobby for descheduling, 280E repeal, and interstate commerce allowance, which would allow, again, as I heard from CV Can and from others, and Ms. Williams probably is tired of hearing me say this, but what is the long game? I keep on hearing from folks in the industry, they're losing money, and there's got to be something at the end of the rainbow, if you will, right? Where is it? And and basically it's more sales, right? And how do you expand more sales? Is to cross state lines and be the supplier, for other states. And so I think we need to continue to do that, to have that vision for growth. Council didn't give me direction on dispensary tax fee, but I did look at it, and I'll show you some slides that in an analysis. I'm not here this evening to make any recommendations on dispensary tax, but I think it's worthy of continued analysis from a visioning perspective. Then finally, from a long-term perspective, looking to be one step ahead, 2 steps ahead of maybe other communities in the cannabis world, and very specifically psychedelics. Should we start looking at that, exploring that, to ultimately potentially having that part of, I know, talking to Mr. Porras, a lot of, some entities ask that question, and we don't allow that, and maybe that could be an opportunity for growth. So some of the goals that kind of working through this, again, collect taxes. That was the goal. I know working with finance, that's been a challenge, right? Not only we bill, but we reactively wait to collect. And then after that, then we're emailing and phone calling and et cetera. So we had to have a fair and equitable tax and fee for the industry, but also for the residents of the community that authorized it. Had to recognize the impacts to the general fund. I'd be remiss if we didn't look at that, because that's real. And create value to the city and the industry. How do we, from a visioning perspective, add that value? And some discovery is your city manager, and this industry is new to me, so there was a lot of learning that I went through during this time frame. And it's still predominantly a cash industry, which is somewhat of a challenge when we look at transactional tax. I heard the canopy tax discourages growth. By way of example, right? You could have a room that you have a potential room that you can grow to have more product, but you got to pay tax on it. So that's a decision. Do I want to go there or not go there? Maybe I don't want to pay tax, so there's no growth associated with it. Manufacturers came here because of the tax policy. I heard that. The retail taxes are high, inclusive of state tax, excise, and local. It's almost 33%, and it's a very complex industry. It's one size fits all was a little challenging to work through. Kind of ran down through some of the backgrounds, what the council policy was, and I talked about 2023, all the changes that were done in 2014 when it came into place, and the voters approved it over 70%. So the voters said, "Hey, this is a good opportunity for us," and we're looking to to expand this and make this better for not only the industry but for our residents. How do we execute this? As mentioned earlier, the short term. 12 months I mentioned. It's probably going to be shorter than that. Next meeting, depending on where the council goes tonight, we will be bringing back an ordinance, to put some of these pieces into place. And there'll be the first reading next meeting, then the following meeting, second reading, then 30 days after in place. But the intent from the tax perspective of this is January 1. The last policy, the interim policy that went into place expired December 31st. So today, we're at 10/20 unless it's replaced, right? And so we need to put something in replace going back to January 1. However, there are things that code compliance, and planning need to put forth. The uses, as mentioned, the consumption, that is going to go through, I think it's Title 17, along with finance, I think it's Title 3. So there's some cleanup work that is going to be done. And I put in there 12 months, but I got corrected earlier today that it won't take that long. So it'll be over the next several months, get those updated policies to get this fully into place based on the recommendations. And as mentioned, the long term is going to take, that visioning is going to take a little longer, 2 to 5 years. It could be plus or minus. One thing I wanted to show, we're not alone, right? This is not a Desert Hot Springs issue solely, right? So some news articles from the Coachella Valley, from the state of California, and from the United States, right? So it's, we're not alone in this. If this was, Starbucks, if you will, or some, industry, McDonald's, we have history to kind of deal with these topics. Hotels, short-term rentals, obviously a little different issue, but it's in the same vein. It's new, it's emerging. And so I think, a lot of folks are being reactive in some case and proactive in others. So to get down to the bottom line and to the numbers, as you could see through the last several years, these are fiscal years, and amount received is really where I focused on, amount received. As you can see, and this is from our audited financial statement. So you go back to fiscal year 22, about 3.3 million, and then it started that decline, right? And that's where the discussion started happening. 2023, again, fiscal year, so that's, 2 periods, 2.5 million. Fiscal 24 that we're currently in now, we only had one tax period that paid into it, 1.2, but you could see is if you doubled that, we'd be right around, roughly speaking, 2.5 million. So what I focused in on is what we're collecting, and so that's where it came about, is that 575 to be that 2.5 million. That kind of fits in there where we collect. And I know through my agenda review with the council, one of the questions, which was a great question by a council member, is how do you know that that's what's going to be received, right? And I don't know that, explicitly. I could look at our trends to, feel pretty comfortable with this, and I do as your manager, and I think it's important from a budget perspective that we have assurance, if you will, as much as we can, that that's what we're going to collect, right? So when we put a budget in front of you, we have reasonable assurance that that's what we're going to collect, and I do have that for the 2.5. And the history that I have to show it is we do have a 6-month period at $5.10. And that 6-month period that we were at $5.10, we collected about, I think it's $1,071,000. So if you times that by 2, it's a little over, it's about 2.1 million, and that's at $5.10. If you add 13% on top of that, which is the 575, it gets us right there about 2.5 million. So I think we have enough history to show, albeit just one period of $5, that that's a reasonable expectation to collect. Then over and above that is the licensing fee, right? And that's another $300,000 over and above that. I wanted to look at this because I think this is important, again, from the visioning side of it, is where are we and where can we go, right? Some of us who of that age that remember AAA, and we used to get trip ticks to take us to a destination. Well, this could be where our destination is, which is, if you look at the last line there, or the last bar graph is 4 million. We have over 4 million square feet entitled within the city, right? So that's an opportunity. Now, we know, based on even housing, right? Housing gets entitled with a lot of properties, and sometimes, most likely, they don't all develop. So we understand that. However, there's probably a lot here that can be, developed, which is additional opportunity for the city. Working backwards, there is 95,000 that are empty currently. There is 95,000 in transition, which means one operator left, another operator is working and getting their licenses to go in. So that's in transition. And where we're at today is that 1 million square feet that we're currently operating under. So I just wanted to illustrate that. Wanted to go to cannabis the retail, the dispensaries. And again, there's no recommendation today, but I wanted to look at, what the other surrounding communities are. And, again, I heard from the council and the community about there was a lot of consumption during COVID and a decrease. But everybody would have had that, right? But then I do see outside of Coachella, because they had, they have fewer dispensaries, we had one of the largest percentage drops. And so I think I need to do, again, that from a further analysis of this, I need to continue diving into it. But I did have cannabis compliance look at it, and I think it's something to keep in mind because it's a big number. 60% of our sales in the dispensary side comes from up the hill from us, from the high desert. So we're hoping they never pass any progressive laws up there to sell cannabis. But that's a big number. That's a big, big, big number, and I think it's worthy to keep an eye on. Here's just a chart from a comparative rates perspective of other, cities within our vicinity and desert communities as well. And again, I think we're within that, realm. I mean, we're not going outside of that realm. I brought this up, and I asked, staff to, is there, a commodity price index that's out there that can help? And I think this, cannabis benchmarks. And basically, and this is the reason to go to transactional tax, right? There was a high, which was in, no pun intended. There was a high of 2020 of $2,200 a pound, and it dropped, in 2022 to $633 a pound, as far as retail, right? And again, our tax doesn't take that into consideration. It's flat, right? So it's when the prices are good, it's great. When prices are down, it's bad. But I think a transactional tax can be that partner with that industry. This one here, just a slide of the makeup of our community. 61 operators amongst those various segments. Storefront retailers, non-storefront cultivators, manufacturers, and distributors. And 77% of that pays into, our coffers. And just kind of some of our local brands that are here. And again, as the mayor mentioned about employees, which is real, right? 4,100 employees in the industry, 1,500 of which are local, and it's about 36%, and jobs are important. And just kind of wrapping this up, what's in front of you this evening is the recommendation to reduce the cannabis canopy tax. I'll go back to my notes here just for clarification. I think city consumption space, better defined, at $5.75 a square foot. Add an annual cannabis regulatory permit renewal fee of $57.70, and that excludes dispensaries. And the reason I put excluding dispensaries, I do see there are issues out there in the dispensary side. So I didn't want to, from a manager's perspective, add insult to injury, if you will. I think it needs further analysis, and that's why I excluded them in the recommendation at this point. The others aren't picking up the cost of that. I just want to be clear in that, because that would be non-compliant with Prop 218. Add an annual allowance for lost crop. Payment arrangements are an application and not a right. Monthly payments, late fees and penalties will be assessed after the due date. Require the connection to Monarch for each entity's point of sale system and banking system. limit space at a dispensary for cultivation and not plants, and add the ability to create consumption spaces. That concludes my staff report, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Well, that was a lot longer than 3 minutes, but no, joking. He already gave us, he met with most of us and gone over this with us, so we knew it was going to be time-consuming to try to explain it in a way that would be very informational to everybody so they would understand it, and I appreciate the hard work that's been put into this by your office. Before we get to council member comments, we're going to take public comments. I know I have Paula Turner turned in a card. You can go first. Anyone else that would like to follow her, you don't need to turn in a card. Just follow her, and you'll have 3 minutes once you state your name.
Amazing presentation, Frank. I know in a short period of time you put a lot of information together. My name is Paula Turner. I'm with Desert Pacific Properties and also on the board of CBCAN. As you know, CBCAN is a nonprofit membership organization that provides a voice to the cannabis industry throughout the Coachella Valley. CBCAN is in full support of the staff's recommendation on the short-term cannabis policy. We've had several meetings with Frank and Doria with the Desert Hot Springs cannabis businesses to discuss the issues facing the industry, and we believe this is a win-win for both the city of Desert Hot Springs and the cannabis industry. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Larry Lauren from the Microbuttery. Usually when I come here, I'm complaining, and I'm not this time, which is very nice. I do want to say to Doria and Frank, thank you. We felt like we, and I mean my compadres and I, are in the business. We were listened to, and this was a great result. And we support what they're saying too, and short and sweet.
Larry, it's never complaints, it's just concerns that you have.
That's right.
Mr. Attorney.
Scott Russick, CV Can, and I do have a day job. I work for the Caputo Group, HR outsourcing. Little plug there. A lot's been said tonight. These are serious matters. Meetings were held. We were asked, several board members, myself, Paula Turner, Jocelyn Kane, were asked by the city manager and the deputy city manager to attend some meetings and to bring in some operators in the community to discuss issues. It was an open meeting. It was a safe place to talk about concerns not only on our side but on the city's side and what the challenges the city is facing in so many different ways, and it was a place to be able to speak without fear of retribution and to speak honestly about concerns and also learn about the concerns of the city in more detail. As Larry Lauren mentioned, we were listened to. And I feel that we're generally listened to, but this was even more special. And I'll tell you something, I appear before a lot of city councils. This is what differentiates Desert Hot Springs from many of your sister cities. You're curious, you're interested. We may not agree all the time, but there's open dialogue, right? And that's yet another reason to work, play, and live in Desert Hot Springs. So thank you for including us in those meetings, sincerely. The recommendations are the result of those meetings and all of the other work that city manager and deputy city manager undertook, as well as their staff. There's a lot of consideration here. It's my personal opinion, as well as the opinion of the CVCAN board, that this is a well-considered series of recommendations that address issues around a unique industry with complicated challenges. It addresses challenges faced not only by cannabis operators, but it addresses issues for the city itself, as well as the community and the overall constituency. It's an excellent example of what good government can and should be when we all work together to try and address complicated issues and make our communities better. CVCAN supports this recommendation. We will continue to be an asset for you should you like, and we very much appreciate the time and consideration. Thank you very much.
Thanks, sir. Would anybody else like to speak to this item? Final call. We'll close public comments. We'll go to council member comments. Mr. Betts, you're first in the queue.
Yeah, thank you. I'm just going to run down my comments on this quick, and thanks for the presentation. It was just about as long the second time as we got previously, but that goes with the territory. I hope you'll forgive me if you hear some of my comments again. The question, require connection to Monarch from each entity's point of sale system. Is that cultivation or is that just dispensary?
So that would be for all operators. The idea is not just that we would connect up to get the taxes remitted for all use types that pay taxes, but it would also allow us to collect data across all the use types so that we can look for that long game, So it would be for all use types that pay taxes.
Okay, and there's a cost to implement that system. Who buys it, us or them?
So there's a percentage that we will pay per transaction, and it would be the city that would be paying that cost. It's not passed on to the operators.
Okay. Add to the ability to create consumption spaces. What does that mean? Is these like a consumption lounge?
The consumption lounge is definitely the intent there to have the ability to consume at locations.
Okay, so, I don't know, this has been talked about for quite a few years here in our city. And as we've talked about it in our city, I've watched other cities that already have them. Can we just stop talking about this? And if somebody wants to come in and put it in, just do it? What's holding this up?
Well, it's coming forth. As mentioned earlier, the cannabis compliance team and community development are putting the policy together. Within the next 60 days, I think we talked about roughly, it'll be in front of you for approval. And at that point, well, first reading, second reading, 30 days after.
Is
it'll
it
be in
that
place.
complicated? I mean, it's like, got to be a certain age to go in there, and you have to make sure the smell doesn't leave the building.
So part of, I'll tell you here what the complicated part of this is we're hearing from the industry, it's monetizing it. So.
Well, we don't need to monetize it, do we?
Well, the industry would need to monetize it. So we're going to be putting it out there.
From tax purposes or what?
So to do it, the individual, so if you're a business and you want to have a consumption lounge, what the feedback that I'm hearing is it's tough for them to have profitability. So there's still some questions within the industry of it, but we're going to remove that roadblock to provide that option. Then the private industry is going to have to figure out how to monetize
Okay,
that.
so I should just take your first answer as the good news is this is finally moving along. Okay. Not that I consume, but I don't actually. Something on the short terms I would like to see is some way to speed the permit processes along. I understand it's a complicated matter, but I know that we've got a couple of businesses that are waiting to hire people and waiting to get ready to go. They're already ready. They could turn on the switch to start producing and being in business tomorrow, but they're waiting on either state or maybe city permits. The process is just way too long. If somebody's installing a factory, building it, putting everything up, and has their employees ready to go and everything's done, it should not be sitting there waiting for paperwork. And I understand we got the state involved, and so I'm not looking for a big, long response.
I'll give you a short one.
Okay, I'll take a short one. Go ahead.
So, and I'm actually going to credit the city council because the city council actually took steps many years ago to streamline our internal cannabis process. And so I hate to say this, but I'm going to say it. It's not us that's the problem.
Okay, so-
But what I will say is this, because there is a state issue with the state license. We can only allow them to move forward if they have both the state and the local. However, we have been able to secure some funding from the state to help our local cannabis operators move through the process a lot more quickly. And our cannabis compliance team, who I'm going to give a nod to, and Tiffany in finance, I'm going to give a nod to you because all of this wouldn't have been possible without you guys tonight. They work with them so closely to get them to state license as quickly as possible, and we're trying to do that with them in tandem.
Okay,
So.
well, not getting into great detail on this, I know we've got an operator who's waiting on the state, and I think we can do more than just say, and I know we have made some steps in that direction, but somehow we have to break through that logjam, tell the state we're ready to go. And I don't know where we are. We've had a lot of discussion on providing them a letter. The process should be, everything here at the city is done. This operator is ready to go. The last thing they're waiting on is you, the state, to put your chop on that final approval, or your stamp, and that we would provide them with some type of letter that says, hi, we're ready to go, we're waiting on you. And then not wait on the state, but actually go there and bang on some doors to get this moving. This is in our interest to get these places going, so I don't need to belabor that. Something that comes to mind is, I don't know if our codes are, and I'm not going to go on too much longer here, but I don't know if our codes restrict certain things. Like, I'm thinking of Harborside down there by the freeway. And I can't read their sign. I don't know if that's their choice or ours. It's really hard to read. They have a big, tall sign, but I can't see what it is. If I'm driving down the freeway looking for a McDonald's or whatever, and I can see it a long ways away, theirs, I can't even barely read it. And I'm thinking, why isn't that place just sticking out like a neon sore thumb and, drawing more attention to it on all this freeway? That was their big draw, was the only ones to drive through. And I think you'd hardly know it's there. Are we doing anything in our regulations that are hurting that? And is there something we could do in our short-term goals to provide more promotional leniency to these businesses? So that would be something I can see in the short-term goals.
Did you want an answer to that? It's okay, I don't have to.
No, I'm good.
Okay,
I'm good. If there's something we can do, we can address that issue later or something.
Perfect.
I've had talked to them. And it's a reduction in the cultivation tax, not the canopy tax. We're not going to keep calling it a canopy tax, right?
Cultivation.
It's a cultivation tax, because that's what's in the law. And then I've hold on a second. Okay, so it's in the long term where we're converting canopy tax to a transactional tax. And to me, that gets to be a whole lot more complicated. And I'd love to see a way to address maybe just the bad crops. I'd love to see you address the price, because what happens is, as the price has fallen, the square footage percentage of the cost is way high. I would drop this number down much lower than what we have, but if we're going to convert to a transactional tax, my question is, what did the voters approve? And the voters approved a square foot tax. They didn't approve a transactional tax, so you're going to have to go to the voters on that one, is my guess. And a tiered system of taxation to manufacturing. If the manufacturers are willing to be taxed more, well, great. That's, happy for them that they're willing to give more money to City Hall. But again, we don't have the luxury as a city to start charging a manufacturing tax, because the voters never approved it. And I know we've gone around on this a couple times, but the language is pretty darn clear that you can't tax what you don't get authority from the voters to do. And I don't see any read of that with any attorney that I've gone over on that thing that shows that we can do that. So if we're going to go there, you got to put a ballot measure to the voters and ask them if they want to do that. That's my view, and you can disagree all you want. Last thing is lobbying on descheduling, which would be make it legal, make it so it's not a, terrible, same regulated as whatever the Class C drugs are. And then interstate commerce allowance. And I think you better be careful if you're doing business in California and you're advocating for a breakdown of that barrier between business and California. And, it might be nice, attractive markets going out of California, but you've also got people in Nevada, Arizona, Idaho, wherever they're producing it, having the ability to now ship into California. And those businesses in those states have a much less onerous regulatory and tax environment than we do. And you may find yourself at a huge disadvantage. It hasn't been a lot of car manufacturers that have moved into California. They all left. And there's a whole bunch of business that has moved out of this state because it's such a hostile business environment. And so I think we better, if we're going to advocate for that, we better advocate for the state to become, and I don't know if you'll ever win that battle with this state. It's been going on for decades, where they want to pound somebody, other states want to welcome them. So you're going to have a problem there. I think that's all I got right now. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Frank and Doria. Great presentation. I've given a lot of thought. I don't really have any questions at the moment. I'm just going to throw a few comments out there, and we can move on.
Sorry, I had.
I will be honest. It makes me a little queasy lowering the tax to $575. But I recognize the need, and we've got to stabilize things for this industry. We've been having them on a roller coaster for quite some time. My concern comes from the fact that we're kind of backwards setting it. 575 is what we're collecting, and those are from the good operators who are always consistent in paying and are usually on time, and we don't have an issue with it. And the fact we're lowering there to 575 takes a big chunk out of our municipal budget, and I'm not entirely. I'm hopeful, shall we say, that the lowering will help collect from those operators that are not paying their taxes now and that are behind. But that's a leap of faith, and I'm going to trust you on this one and cross my fingers and hope that comes through, because we really do need to give this industry the assurance of what they will be taxed, and we have been going up and down with them for the last couple of years. I really do like the strong collection pieces, the Monarch system, not letting them get behind, moving to a monthly thing. I think that will help solve a lot of those problems, because if you're paying every month, you're not going to get as behind as if you pay every 6 months. It's a lot easier to come up with $1,000 than it is to come up with $6,000, right? So I'm hopeful on that. I do think that the biggest key moving forward in our long-term goals, and I've been saying this for a long time, is moving towards a yield-based tax rather than a square footage-based tax. The square footage-based tax, I think, is what was come up with it back when this first came out, and it made sense back then, but we don't tax a potato farmer on the 40 acres of growing potatoes. We tax him on how many pounds of potatoes he grows. So I think for long-term stability in this industry, I do think we need to move to that yield-based tax. How we get there, whether it has to go to the voters, back to the voters or not, I'm not 100% sure. But I don't think we need to keep trying to dance around how big is a canopy, how big is a table, how high do we go, all of that stuff. I think if we go to a yield-based tax based on how much of a crop size it is there. As far as the manufacturing goes, it's my understanding that the voters approved taxing all aspects of cannabis operation, and it was this council that decided not to tax manufacturing some time ago. And so I do believe that can be extended without going to the voters, but again, we'll rely on our new city attorney to help with that one. In our other long-term goals, going towards the dispensary stuff, I know that our neighbors to the south, Palm Springs, this week at their council meeting is looking at lowering their dispensary tax. And I do think we need to look at that sooner rather than later, because we'll be stuck out there with the highest tax out there if they choose to go ahead and do that. And all of those folks motoring down from the high desert may just keep motoring right on past and go to that one dispensary right there on the edge of Desert Hot Springs and Palm Springs at the 10 and save themselves a few bucks. But what I am concerned about, they go down to they cut theirs in half. Cat City started it. We're going to end up in a race to the bottom. And that's what I don't want to have happen. Because if we keep going and we keep going, because the next time around, Cat City's going to we're going to lower ours to 3. And everybody's going, we got to lower it to 3. We're going to lower it to 3. I don't want to have, we cannot afford a race to the bottom. But I do look at this as a long-term progress. I know this is an evolving industry, and I know we're doing what we can to work cooperatively with the industry. It meant a great deal to me, Scott, to hear you say that you felt that you were listened to, and that's what we're aiming for here. And it doesn't have, we don't have to agree, but the fact that you felt that you were listened to means a lot. And I do think long term, a lot of these things, I hope, will, going back to the 80s and Reaganomics, if we lower the tax, will we increase the consumption? I don't know. There's all kinds of studies that show it goes both ways on that. But what I do think will happen is if we do stabilize the prices, we do stabilize the tax rate, it will lower the price to the consumer, which will help drive out the black market and the bad actors. So For all of those reasons, I'm going to support this when it comes up. That's it.
Ms. Pye, Mr. Nunez, I don't have you in the queue, but would you like to speak before I start a second round?
Yes. Scott, I thought you complained a lot, as he was saying. Now, I get along with you. You've already treated me with respect, and I tried to do the same for you, but that's what I thought. So I'm glad to hear. I'm really, and I hope that continues, because you do need to look at our side also. I think, as the city manager said, we need to try and stay ahead. And I think that that is what we're doing. A lot of constituents keep asking me, you got all that cannabis money, why aren't you talking about it? When you look at the details, as you have, you look at the details, we don't have as much money as you think we have with cannabis. Now, if we're going to stay ahead of the game, we need to do something. And I think that is what we're doing. The reason why, or my reason why, we got into cannabis was so that we wouldn't have bankruptcy. It was a way to have a shore up, and that's why I made the 25. The taxes we receive saved $25,000, and now we're growing. And as we grow, we need to work better. And so I'm glad that you like what has been proposed, and I'm going to start there, that is what we should do. It is new. When we first started, we didn't know what we were doing, and we were doing the best that we could. State comes to find out what we're doing before they figure out. They couldn't stop WeMat until much later, before they told people you have to be licensed. And this thing with the state, we don't have, we are not in charge of them. They are in charge. We can teach them, if they want to listen to us again, how to make it better. But we have nothing to do. And the stuff that is happening at the state level, they're not giving the officers the money they need to do what they have to do. With fentanyl, they're not giving them what they need. I'm going to stop there. But I agree with you, I agree with the city manager that this is the way to go, and we have to be careful on how we go forward so that we can stay ahead of the game. I'm done.
Mr. Nunez?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think this is a great report. I think our staff really put it together, and for me, it's the long game. I think as a baseball fan, it's the season, right? We're looking for the season and hoping that we come out at the end. I really like it. I can safely say that, it's one thing out of me, you'll hear from me is responsible. Let's be responsible when it comes to cannabis. Let's be responsible when it comes to growth. When it comes to businesses, let's be responsible. So I can fully get behind this. I really do want to look into the psychedelics. I think that'll really help our veterans that suffer from PTSD. So it'll be a leader for us in Southern California to be, part of the psychedelic movement. So I think that'll be a great move for us. Other than that, I would make the motion when it's ready, Mr. Mayor.
All right, I'm going to go back to Mr. Betts, I guess, and I have some final comments, and then we'll accept the motion. Mr. Betts?
Thanks. I don't know how I left this out, but in this entire presentation, this entire discussion, we haven't talked about the most important thing that this industry brings to our community is jobs. And I know we want revenue to City Hall, but you go out and talk to a guy at a pizza shop, and first thing he says is, whatever you do, don't drive that industry out of here because they're keeping us busy. and it's the same for a lot of businesses here in town, the ancillary benefit that goes to the residents. And the jobs are very important to somebody who needs an income. So I hope in our goals that we're going to work in and make salient always how we're going to increase the number of jobs in town. And Mr. Mayor, I concur with you on what we've done so far has been good, but it needs to be a continuing part of this discussion. That's all I had on that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, my final comments, I'll try to make them short. It's been, kind of a long item, but I think it's an important item. First, I read the report. The city manager's been prepping us for weeks on how this is going to possibly come about. Read the report. City manager gave me his PowerPoint today and talked about it in depth on how he sees this going forth, and it was very professional. I want to say this. Jan Pye sticks her heels in the ground when it comes to issues that will possibly change our financial overview. She sees it as her responsibility, and to get her from where she was to here, it means a lot because she understands it to a point that it's important, and the report was fantastic. I think everyone was listened to. I think the industry was listened to. Moving forward, there's obviously this document's always a working document, and in the next couple of years, we'll have some bigger planning looking at the industry. When you work in the corporate world, you base your budgets on actual revenues that you see coming in the past years. In government, sometimes it's a little different. You base on what you believe the taxation will be going forward, and we have to change that mindset. And this is a prime example of that. Not knowing what this industry was going to do over time, we projected a lot on where we were, and now we're having to make certain cuts in certain areas to make sure that we meet our budgets in the future. But it's a partnership. And to keep those jobs, as we've talked about, to keep those businesses afloat, and to keep that industry on the north side of the freeway open to other industries that would never have come here, it's been very important. I hope that makes sense. So I'm fully supporting this, hoping that you take the comments you've heard tonight and we continue to massage this in the future, look into the concerns from some of the council members, and that we bring back a report and bring back an ordinance that we can get behind, you said in 2 weeks? Or next
2 weeks. 2 weeks will be the first reading. And Mr. Mayor, if I may, obviously being the spearhead delivering it, that's part of my responsibility, but it was truly a team effort from the city manager's team to the cannabis compliance team, kind of looking at this together. So just wanted to acknowledge all of them, kind of all the good work that kind of led into this report.
And when I say city manager's office, we know there's a team behind him, and I hope that's reiterated to all of you on how hard you work to make sure he has the information he has to make this report. So we do appreciate all of your work on this. Mr. Nunez, you wanted to make a motion?
And I'll second.
So moved. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And second it. Wait for it to come up on the screen. No further comments. Please vote. Yes, ma'am.
Motion passes unanimously.
Ms. Pye, you had a final comment?
I just wanted to say one more thing. That
Your mic's on.
Scott, the information you're doing on February 21 is very important. I worked with COD and the nurse that you have, and we presented to senior centers at where they were. If they could go to COD, they went to COD. If they couldn't, they did it on Zoom. And those, at least ours, were very interested. And what they needed was the education. And they got that. And so I would say for anyone that wants to attend it on February 21, even if you don't think you need it, at least find out what you don't like. I'm done.
Thank you. We're going to move to the consent calendar, which no items were pulled from the consent calendar, so we'll move to future agenda items. We talked with the city manager's office on
Mr.
that.
Mayor, I've got a point on future agenda items, if I might.
Can you discuss it with the city manager?
Well, I did, and he told me to bring it up here, so I'm
Okay.
going to do
Well,
that.
it was added to the agenda. I didn't know it was going to be added to the agenda for discussion, but.
Well, I'm just, he pointed out to me that on the agenda, there is future agenda items, and I looked and go, darn it, you're right.
I thought we'd
And I know
taken
the
it
other
off.
committees and where I serve, that's the point where
It
council
doesn't,
member.
not in any of the committees I serve, but go ahead, please.
Thank you. So I appreciate that. So I'd like to have 2 agenda items added for the future, and one would be Varner Road, and the explanation on that is that I think there's considerations that the council needs to make on approach and direction and what we want to get done on that, and I think we would do well to, if nothing else, have it as a receive and file type item or an informational item, maybe not an action item, to where I just think there's considerations that all of us need to be able to talk and discuss on how we want to approach that. They can't be handled individually without getting into a Brown Act violation. And then the other item would be what I had brought up at the other meeting, would be to get something on the agenda for sanitation services for homeless in the community. And I would like to have that brought in as a agenda item. I'd be happy to work with somebody if we wanted, I'll draft it up if it need to be. But I'd like to, get an assurance that we could get that on the agenda as well.
I'm not going to ensure anything. I'm going to let the city manager's office propose those to me, and then we'll discuss them if you can get someone to join you in those efforts. So we'll work on that. Anyone else want to add anything on his future
So-
agenda items?
Well, can I finish?
You said you had 2 items.
Well, I did.
What
I
else?
just- I'm
We're not
trying-
here to debate these.
I'm not debating anything, Scott. I'm just trying to find out if we can get these put on the agenda. So
I
is there any-
answered your question. I'll talk with the city manager. I'll find someone to help sponsor it. You need 2 people to sponsor for an item. And if that's the case, then we'll get it put on the agenda.
Okay, great. Then I'll go to work on that way.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Any other future agenda items from any council members? All right, we'll move to public comment. Anyone in the audience didn't have any other, I think, Tom, you spoke, so Dolly, anything from you, because I think you're the only public left. And with that said, if there's no further discussion, we are adjourned.